Well, whenever I'm talking about teamwork, there's one person that I always think of, and I'm sure this is the person that's on the tip of your tongue too, and that's Tim Thompson. Oh, you don't know Tim Thompson? Well, is anybody going to ask me who is Tim Thompson? Well, thank you for asking. Tim just happens to be my husband and business partner. And Tim and I are just an eensy, teensy, weensy little bit different from each other. Do any of you all have a spouse or a business partner that might be just a little bit different than you are? See, Tim's the left-brain one. He's the one that's logical, sequential, and organized. I'm the right-brained one. I'm the one that's creative, artistic, and disorganized. Well, let me tell you a little bit about how that plays out with us. See, Tim would ask me if I was putting my business receipts in the file every month, and I would say, yes, dear. And the next month he'd ask me again, are you putting those business receipts in the file? And I'd say, yes, dear. So tax planning season comes around. Well, I'm pulling out the one big, thick folder with all the receipts. As he's pointing to the 14 individual file folders, I should have been putting them in. See, Tim thinks it's fun to be organized. He also thinks it's fun to save money. He calls it value engineering. But he books all my travel reservations, so I never know, am I going to be on Delta Airlines or a Greyhound bus? Well, last fall, I'm speaking in Chicago, so Tim goes with me. Now, we checked into this really nicely remodeled hotel. You know, we had the AAA discount and the frequent stay discount and the frequent flyer discount, and of course, we had the nice guy discount. Well, Tim's out securing transportation for the 3 miles from the hotel to the convention center. And I'm getting ready and imagining how much fun this audience is going to be and what I'm going to say. And Tim comes back in and he looks at my skirt and he says, I like your light gray pantsuit much better. Now, for Tim, a man, to comment unsolicited on what I'm wearing is an oddity in itself. But to actually choose an outfit that he wants me to wear, wow, he might really notice what I'm wearing. So I finished smoothing out the wrinkles in that light gray pantsuit, and I'm walking down the steps past the bell stand, and I hear giggles. I turn around, and the bellman winks at me. I didn't know what a great-looking pantsuit this was. So we walk out the front door, and I'm ready to get a taxi, and Tim says, not exactly. And I said, oh, a rental car then. You got a rental car. Not exactly. He said, you know, you talk about having fun, so I thought we'd do something a little more fun. And I thought, does Chicago have horse and buggies? I lightened up and said, a horse and buggy. He rented a horse and buggy. And he said, not exactly. So we're going around the side of the hotel, and I noticed the entire Bell staff over here pointing and snickering at our mode of transportation. A bicycle built for two. A tandem bicycle. Well, I look at the bike and I'm thinking, I just need to get to my speech, right? I said, nice bike, let's go. He turns around to the Bell staff with thumbs up and says, that's my wife. Well, now you have to understand, my husband's tall. He's not Mark Eaton tall, but he's still 6'6". And you see, I take props with me. So now how is my engineer husband going to put these props on this tandem bicycle? Well, he chooses a backpack. Now, you have to understand, on the back of a tandem bike, I can't change gears, I can't steer, and I can't brake. And now, with 6'6" backpack in my face, I can't see either. So here we are going down the Lakefront Trail in Chicago, and I realized that we're going to have to pedal at the same pace to make this work. So as I'm trying to hold my hair into place, it's kind of like I'm a homecoming queen on the back of a convertible, but I never was, and that's a whole other story. We won't go there. But I'm trying to keep those light gray pants out of the chain grease. And I realize I can't understand a word Tim says. But now, I really haven't understood him for 25 years anyway, so like, why should this be any different? So he said what I thought was pump. But what he really said was bump. Well, here I am. I put all my energy into pumping or pedaling this bike, and we hit the bump. Well, there's this big puddle full of mud in front of us. He's able to maneuver around it, but not without his foot going in the mud puddle. All I can think of is, I hope the mud dries as the same color of my pantsuit. So we continue on along, and we get to the 43rd Street overpass. And there's this sign that says the bike trail's closed. If you don't mind carrying your bike up 43 flights of stairs. So we get to the other side, and we're right out in front of the convention center. Well, I thought Tim said go. But what other vehicular command might rhyme with go? Whoa. Slow. Well, that's exactly what he meant. So I pedal him right out in front of an oncoming bus. Well, now, take this engineer that's used to taking the circumference of the square root of pi, putting it into his calculator, and coming up with 3 potential solutions, does not do well with snap decisions. So we pull right out in front of that oncoming bus. He weaves around, and we get in front of the convention center, and he says, "This is taking a lot longer than I thought." Now, to most people, that doesn't mean very much. But what it means to a value engineer is that if he doesn't get this bicycle back to the rental place, he's going to have to pay another half hour. So he says, "I'll just slow down and you hop off." So he slides his arms out of the backpack, which falls into my lap, and I dismount in a much unladylike fashion. If it was the Olympics, I'd be getting a -3. I walk out onto the platform and I say, "A funny thing happened to me on the way to the convention center." Now, I love my husband dearly. That story really did happen, so just rest assured, it did happen. He did do that, and we're still married, and it's been almost 25 years. I know him pretty well by now. Okay, so I'm telling that story. Some of you are sitting there, and I saw the look on your face. "That sounds like so much fun. I would love to do that." Some of you said, "I would not do that in a million years. I would never give anybody else control." Some of you were in the middle of the road saying, "It might be fun, but I don't know if I'd really do it, but I could." What happens when we're talking about teams is, we need all kinds of people. We need the people that want to go out there and be on the front of that tandem bike or on the back of it. We need people that say, "No way, I would never do that," and we need people in the middle. But when we go out and try to find a team, we look for people that are just like us. And what happens when we form a business team is, it doesn't work very well. It's just like Frank Layton. As good as Mark Eaton was, he wouldn't have wanted a team of Mark Eatons. He needed people that could move the ball, shoot the ball, offense, defense. He needed a lot of different people. So that's what we're going to talk about. How do we find these different people? How do we connect with them? And how do we create this team?